Rise and shine!
It's espresso time!
Hey, it's Carmichael, and successful people don't wake up and go, yes, what another day to be alive! But when you have a morning routine that sets you up for success, like watching one of these videos, it will change your life. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee, know that I believe in you, and get ready for a shot of espresso from Mel Robbins.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Everything that I have done since we launched the 5-second rule book was in reaction to things that were coming to me. So I never sat out and said, hey, the 5-second rule audiobook has been a complete record breaker. We clearly have an audio audience. Let's go pitch Audible. Right. Audible came to me, which is fantastic. I always dreamt about having a talk show, but I wasn't out pitching one. Sony came to me. In fact, the only reason why we got into courses, online courses, and we now have more than 500,000 people that have taken our courses online, was because Success Magazine came to me and said, let's do a course together.
I remember I was there interviewing you for it.
I hated it. Because what I discovered is I hate being told what to do. And so, but that gave me the idea, we should do courses ourselves. And so this pause has made me stop and go, well, what do I really want to do? And the truth is I want to go and make the biggest possible impact that I can. Mm-hmm. And I want to collaborate with more people. Yeah. And I want to do events. And I don't want to be the CEO. I'm a terrible leader, horrible leader, the worst actually, because I'm amazing at coaching. I'm amazing at creating. I'm amazing at reacting. I'm terrible at managing people. I am terrible at managing a project. I have ADD. I have dyslexia. I'm a bulldozer when I get anxious. Mm-hmm. I hate similar people. I know we are. That's how we'd kill each other if we were roommates or business partners. But I think understanding yourself is really important. And so there's a couple things that I've decided. Number one, I'm going to consciously create the next chapter.
And what is that?
And I'm still in the middle of doing it.
Yeah, but you want to do events. You want to do these things you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to collaborate more with a wider audience of people. Mm-hmm. And I want to build a brand bigger than Mel Robbins.
Yep.
I don't want it to just be me. I want to build a platform-based business that reaches more people. Because here's the thing that got me through kind of the loss of the talk show and the way that I think about things that I hope helps if you're listening and you're kind of struggling with something. I believe, and I went into the talk show saying this to myself because there's a 99% chance based on the history of people that have tried to have a daytime talk show that it was going to fail. And I went in there saying, I'm not doing this because I expect to have a successful talk show. I'm going to put 1,000% into it so that I have no regrets and I wouldn't change a thing. But I'm going into this because I know that there is a skill, a person, or an experience I am meant to have that will help me for the next chapter that I can't see coming.
Your purpose comes from your pain. People often ask me, Evan, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion? How do I find what I'm meant to do? It's the number one question that I keep getting asked over and over and over again. And it's a fairly simple answer. It's why I wrote Built to Serve, because your purpose comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled the most with as a human is what you want to help other people through. And again, it's not some physical pain that you went through. I broke my neck in 2019 in 2 spots. That's not the kind of pain. It's the emotional pain. It's when did you feel the most worthless? When did you feel like giving up? When did you feel like you brought no value to the world? When did you feel like throwing it all away? Like with those moments. When did you feel maybe that your life had no value? When did you feel that? When did you feel like you weren't going to be able to get through? Understand that there are millions of people right now who are struggling with the same thing, who are facing those same questions, who don't know what to do. And they could look to you as someone who's done it, who's come through. You represent hope. You represent inspiration. You represent a new model. You represent the fact that if you could do it, maybe they can too. It doesn't mean that you figured it all out. This is where we get to, imposter syndrome. We're like, who am I to be able to do this and have this big impact and have a great reach? Who am I to be that person? You don't have to pretend like you've got it all figured out. You don't. But you know a lot more than what you used to know. You're way further ahead than you used to be. You can help the person you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And an exercise I often give people is, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, imagine, just close your eyes and just imagine that you're sitting there talking to yourself. You see yourself from 10 years ago sitting there on the park bench. You see them clearly. See yourself clearly, sitting there on the park bench. And you're in the middle of whatever the worst thing that happened in your life was. That worst moment. You're in the middle of it right now. Could you today go sit down? You're going to go sit down to the person who you used to be. Could you share anything that would help that person? Could you give them an affirming message? Could you give them some hope? Could you give them some strategies? Could you make them feel a little bit better? Could you make them feel like they're not going to stay here forever? Could you show them a path? Of course. Of course you can. Doesn't mean you have to go be Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins or Evan Carmichael or Oprah, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be that person, but could you help the person who you used to be? Like, of course. If you can visualize that, then of course. Well, then just understand that there are millions of people who are right now who you used to be. There are millions of people, millions, who are struggling with the exact same thing that you were struggling with, that you sitting on that park bench, that issue that you were facing. Millions of people right now are struggling with that same thing. And they need your voice, they need your message, they need your encouragement. They'll learn from you in a way that they can't learn from Evan Carmichael or Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or Elon Musk or whoever. They'll learn from you because you've been through it. And so I think there are some people who want to serve just the 25 closest people to them. And there's some people who want to serve the world. And if you're watching this channel, you're subscribed here, you probably want to serve the world. You've got a big mission. Either way, we're built to serve. You want to serve. We all want to feel like you wake up today and today matters. You want to feel like the work you're going to make today matters. And I'm sitting here in a Whole Foods parking lot making this video, right? So Nina's shopping inside. I'm in a Whole Foods parking lot making this video. Why? Because I hope that it has an impact. I hope that it's reaching you. I hope that I'm not just talking to myself because I already know the stories that I'm sharing. I hope that it has some kind of impact on you. We all want to wake up and feel like we're going to do something today that will impact somebody's life, right? That's, at the end of the day, that's where you get your happiness. It's great to hit some goals and great to have money in your account and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. And you still want to feel like you mean something to somebody and that today is going to matter. So humans are built to serve. Some people want to serve the 25 closest people to them, and some people, probably you, want to serve the world. You want to have a big impact. Okay, well, how do you do it and who do you reach? Well, you're going to reach the people who currently are who you used to be. People who struggled or are struggling with the thing that you used to struggle with. The way I look at it is you're on a staircase of growth. You're on a staircase of growth. You want to get better. You want to climb. You want to keep improving. You, in 5 years, in 10 years, will be totally different again. You'll be stronger. You'll be more self-aware. You'll have more confidence. You'll have a bigger reach, greater impact. You're learning. That's why you're watching videos like this. You want to be better. You want to keep growing. And same thing for me too. I want to learn from Oprah and Mel and Tony and Elon. I want to keep pushing and getting better. We're on this growth staircase. And I think it becomes your duty, your responsibility to, every time you take a step up on that staircase, you reach back and help somebody else get to the level that you're at. So whatever you're struggling with, maybe 10 years ago you were at step 1 and now you're at step 5. So there's lots of people who are ahead of you who are step 1,000. Great. You can help people get to step 5 because most people are still stuck at step 1. So when you feel not good enough, when you feel like your mission, is huge, but you're not the person to do it, when you feel like you're not able to follow through because there's so many better people out there than you, that becomes the path. Is to recognize that, hey, you're ahead of where you used to be. You're at step 5 right now, and you used to be at step 1, and you can help people get to step 4. And every time you step up, in the next 5 years, you might go from step 5 to step 25. Every time you learn, you get better, you improve, you discover a new strategy, you change your mindset, discover a new limiting breakthrough, limiting belief that you've broken through, right? You've grown. You get to step 25. Now you can help people get to step 24. That feeling will never get old. We love serving, we love helping. It's built into us. But helping somebody who currently is who you used to be is the greatest thing of all time. When you're looking at purpose, when you're looking at passion, when you're looking at deep fulfillment, it comes from service. It's not that you can't get happiness or excitement from doing something, I was excited to go get my Starbucks this morning, excited for that first sip feeling, great. But that's not lasting, deep fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from feeling like you matter, and that today is gonna matter, and that you're gonna show up and somebody's gonna care. So you do that through your purpose, and your purpose comes from your pain. And the more that you can connect to the impact that it's having, your work, whether you're making videos or content or a product or service, the more you can connect to, hey, what I do actually matters. I'm having an impact, even if it's not the big impact yet that I want to have, even if I know it's this giant problem that there's millions of people facing it right now, just knowing that you did something today that mattered, that touched one person's life in a really meaningful way. That gives you the energy, the motivation, the confidence, the belief to keep going one more day, one more day, one more day. And sometimes in that one more day is the actual difference. Sometimes your message could be the one more day for somebody else, and you feeling like you touched somebody could be the one more day for you. Because the difference is just in that one more day. You've got the heart, the ambition, the drive, the love, the care, the desire to have an impact and make more money in the process. And for most people, the only thing missing is just momentum. Just not doing enough. Just not believing enough. Just not pursuing enough. The more you can connect to the purpose every day and feel like today is going to matter and mean something, that's when everything starts to change. Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of actually following through on your goals. That's not good enough. No, not for you, Believe Nation, we gotta do something. But when you write it down and you create a specific plan of action for the next week, that number jumps to 91% chance of you following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment on this video, it jumps to 95%. You need to follow through on your goals. So what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your specific plan of action for the next week? Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you. Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for you to shift that habit forward. So I've designed a special free program to help you get more self-belief, where every day for 254 days, I will send you an email to an unlisted video that, if you watch it, will shift your confidence forward. The links to join for free are in the description below.
You're always going to need to push yourself. You're always going to need to parent yourself. I'm about to change your life because this piece of research changed mine. If you didn't give a shit what anybody else thought, what's the thing you would love to be doing with your life?
So when you face a scary financial situation, and I have been there, I have been more than $800,000 in debt with liens on my house and a car that's about to be repossessed and a credit card and a banking card that had no money on it. I distinctly remember two very low moments One being standing at the local grocery store knowing there was no money in the account and handing the card over and just praying in that moment that somehow there would be some technical glitch and it would go through. And when it didn't, I remember feeling the just, shame of standing there with a pile of groceries and people lined up behind me. And I had an excuse ready. I kind of cocked my head and looked kind of confused and was like, well, that's strange because it just worked at the gas station. That was a lie. And then I said, I will be right back. I'm going to go out to my car and get my other credit card. And I walked out of there, got in that car and drove away. And the other one was when our daughter was doing town soccer and we did not have the money to pay the $125 registration fee. And I was too embarrassed to email and tell the coach. And so we just pulled her. It's awful when you are broke, and it's awful when you can't pay your bills. And it is a level of stress that is hard to describe unless you've experienced it. One of the things that will keep you in that death spiral is if you keep a mindset that says, I'm a bad person because of this. You may have made bad financial decisions, but that doesn't make you a bad person. So you have to separate the situation you're in from what you say about yourself as a person. I made tremendous mistakes financially. That's why we were in the situation we were in. My husband made bad mistakes. That's why we were in the situation we were in. Also, most entrepreneurial ventures fail. And so when you just look at the numbers, if you're going to go play a big game, the odds are you're going to fail. It doesn't mean you're a failure. That's the separation that you want to make. And so the key to moving forward is using this moment where you hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, an interesting thing happens. You hit something solid when you hit the ground, and you also come in touch with something solid within yourself. You access that by having a reckoning with yourself and saying, all right, what am I responsible for? What am I going to learn from this? And what behaviors am I going to change? And here's the good news. There is so much financial education out there. There is so much information. Just make a commitment to yourself that you are going to learn how to get out of debt. You're going to follow an expert in financial literacy and in getting out of debt, and you're going to do exactly what they say because you're clearly not an expert in it. And you are going to watch the behaviors that got you in trouble in the first place, and you're going to watch them like a shark, and you're going to interrupt them. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use my 5-second rule to stop the behavior and redirect yourself and do absolutely everything that the experts tell you to do. Because you can get out of debt. You can save money. You can work 4 jobs if you have to. You can learn how to be responsible with money. And you're only going to do it if you use this moment as a way to have a reckoning with yourself. Admit what you're responsible for, do the work to figure yourself out, and follow the advice of the experts. That's the way I did it. That's the way you're going to do it too. We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence. And it's total, frankly. Are we allowed to swear on this show?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's complete garbage. And so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true. Because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life?
And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea. You're sitting in a meeting. You have this incredible idea. And instead of just, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. It wakes your brain up, and your brain all of a sudden goes, oh, wait a minute. Why is he hesitating? He didn't hesitate when he put on his killer spiky sneakers. He didn't hesitate with the really cool track pants. He didn't hesitate with the NASA t-shirt. Now he's hesitating to talk. Something must be up. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do and what's changed my life is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never going to feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Not like one decision, I'm divorcing you in the marriage example, but one decision on, you could be having a conversation with your spouse and you feel your emotions rise up, and within a tiny window, those emotions can take over and can impact how your marriage goes. Or you can learn how to take control of that micro moment and make a decision to act in a way that actually shifts your marriage. Right. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything.
I mean, when I was 22, right after I graduated from Dartmouth, I was so focused on making everyone happy that I almost chose the worst possible career for my personality. It's not a bad career, it just would have been horrendous for me. I was interested in the environment, so I decided, I'll go get a law degree, and then I'll go work in Washington. And I think maybe I'll work on environmental policy, and I'd probably end up in some cube farm. And everyone was thrilled with the plan. Everyone, it turns out, but me. So here I am, I'm driving a U-Haul across country to go to law school and to get a degree in environmental law. And something started to gnaw at me. And with every single mile that I drove, my thoughts were getting louder and doubts were starting to pour in. My gut was telling me, Mel, turn the U-Haul around. But the problem was that everything was already in place, right? I mean, I'm already in the U-Haul. The thing is already packed. I'm already 10 miles into my drive. The tuition had been paid for the first semester. I had signed a lease. I mean, I could not undo these things. Isn't that why it's so difficult for you to make changes in your life? Because you think that things can't be undone? The fact is, any excuse that you come up with, you can undo. Tuition can be reimbursed, apartments can be leased, Plan B can be invented. So I got up, I repacked that U-Haul, and I drove out of town. I let myself make a U-turn in life. If you ever find your gut battling your head, save yourself the drama. I guarantee you your gut is right. Guarantee you your excuses can be undone. And I guarantee you you can make a U-turn in your life right now if you want.
One night, Chris had gone to bed. I'd been struggling. We still had all the same problems. We still had a lien on the house, still facing bankruptcy, still fighting like crazy. I was still unemployed. They still hadn't figured out like the solution yet for the business. And I was about to turn off the TV, and there on the TV, there was this rocket launching, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is it. I am going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship, like NASA right here had launched me out of that bed. And I'm going to move so fast that I don't think. I'm going to beat my brain. Now, here's a really interesting point. I talk a lot about your instincts and inner wisdom. And we can get into this a little bit later, but a lot of us talk about the fact that you have a gut feeling. But what all this research that I've done for the book and all the speaking that I do, what I've discovered that's fascinating is actually when you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop the skill, and I say that word purposefully, the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. So for me, my brain saying, that's it, right there, move as fast as a rocket, Mel. I wanted to change my life. And I think most people that are miserable or that are really like dying to be great and dying to have more, we want to change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. The desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action. So the first thing in this story that's important is realizing that the answer was in me. And my mind was telling me, pay attention. Could have also been the bourbon. I had a couple of Manhattans that night. But anyway, the next morning, the alarm goes off, and I pretended NASA was there. It's the stupidest story. I literally went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I counted out loud, and then I stood up. And I'll never forget standing there in my bedroom. It was dark. It was cold. It was winter in Boston. And for the first time in 3 months, I had beaten my habit of hitting the snooze button. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, wait a minute. Counting backwards? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, the next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. And then I started to notice something really interesting. There were moments all day long, just like that 5-second moment in bed, where I knew, knowledge, what I should do. And if I didn't move within 5 seconds, my brain would step in and talk me out of it. Every human being has a 5-second window. Might even be shorter for you. You have about a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them.
What about when someone can't realize or identify their own negative feelings? Someone that has been conditioned to live in negative feelings and believes that that's normal. This question comes from Basso Anna Denegada.
It is your normal. You're right. It's a really, first of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience of life, because that really stinks, and it doesn't have to be that way. But here's where I want you to go. What's interesting about what you said is the fact that these feelings are normal, okay? Normal just means you're used to them, but you don't have to live with them. So even though you're so used to these negative feelings and these feelings of doubt, you still don't like them. You still have the ability to stop that. So I want you to think of a moment in time when you were really happy. Like, it could be a memory from being little, it could be something that you dream of doing. And I want you to come up with something really specific about that moment, okay? Like, think about what you were wearing, or think about the blue sky. That is going to be what I call your anchor thought. Every time from this moment forward that you wake up or you find yourself drifting to those normal feelings of, I'm a loser, I'm worthless, I'm never going to find love. They may be things that you're used to thinking, but that doesn't matter, because you can change them. The second that you feel that, you've drifted over into that thought, and I keep coming over here because when you start using the rule, you're going to start to literally feel which part of your mind you're using. The worries kind of happen here. I want you to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to insert this vision of yourself where you felt really good. And if you can't think of one, invent one. How would you feel if you were in love? How would you feel if you loved yourself? How would you feel if you did that thing that you're scared of, that you keep talking yourself out of? That's your anchor thought. Now, when you first start using the rule, particularly when you're breaking a habit of thinking negative thoughts, when you first start doing it, you may need to use the 5-second rule 73 times in one day. That's okay. I had to do it like that when I was first using the rule to cure myself of anxiety. When I would start to worry about anything, I'd start to worry about, my kids, or I'd start to worry about money, and I'd feel my thoughts drift, and then I'd start to feel my heart race. I would stabilize my thoughts, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd activate my prefrontal cortex, lower the worries, on the other side, and then I would start to think about something that actually made me feel really calm or excited. That is the battle of your mind. And, the other thing about normal that I just want to say is that the reason why it feels normal to doubt yourself and to have low self-worth is because you've thought this so long. It's become a pattern, just like chewing your nails becomes a pattern of behavior that you don't think about. Well, the cool thing is that based on science, you can actually change any pattern, even a thinking one. So use the 5-second rule. Every single time you catch yourself thinking the nasty stuff, and then activate your prefrontal cortex and force yourself to think something positive.
Every single morning, Monday through Fridays at 9 a.m., I host a live call-in radio show on Sirius Satellite Radio. It's called Make It Happen with Mel Robbins. And the thing that's been so crazy about that show is every single person that calls me on that show, they call in because they're feeling stuck in their lives and they're resigned about their ability to change their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are nuts. I'm talking about successful people like you and me that just somehow got stuck in their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are looking for cheesy self-help. I'm talking about people that really want to figure out how to move themselves forward. And I find that so many of us think that our dreams are unreachable or unrealistic, and it's just so sad. I mean, people think that their dreams disappear. And if that's what you think, congratulations, you're officially stuck. And the truth is that our dreams are always there, and they don't ever give up on us. We give up on them. But here's the secret. If you just force yourself, and I mean force, because I know well none of you want to do anything about this, and I also know you're sitting there like, yeah, this self-help crap, this isn't for me. But if you just force yourself to take a couple small steps, there's always a surprise. There's always a surprise waiting if you take a step off the porch. So let's talk about Starbucks. Starbucks in 2008, very interesting thing happened, and many of you, if you were in the financial services market then, probably know this, that their net income decreased by about 28% that year. And at the time, they had 16,000 stores in 44 countries, and they had gone through this massive, explosive growth segment in terms of going public in, I think it was like 1992, they only had 125 stores, and now here we are, 2008, they've got 16,000. So what ends up happening is Howard Schultz, who was the chairman of the board, comes back in as the CEO. Very complex situation, right? You've got operations in 44 countries. You've got massive reduction in terms of the profits that you have. You've got the stock market and Wall Street screaming at you. You've got customers that are going to Dunkin' Donuts because there's a recession that's hitting. So what do? Well, he was very clear, again, back to the 2 rules. What do I stand for? Like, what am I doing? And what do I want the outcome to be? So he was very clear that what he stood for as a leader and what Starbucks should stand for is the Starbucks experience. He wanted to go back to the beginning and reintroduce people to the romance of having a cup of coffee. Because that's how Starbucks launched in the beginning, that he was traveling and was over in Italy and was like, God, why don't we have places like these great stops to have a little cup of coffee over in the United States? Boom, Starbucks, an idea, it's born, it's launched. So he decides he's going to do whatever he can to get the romance of having a cup of coffee back. In life, in any situation, whether you're talking about growing your company, growing your bank account, getting in a relationship, getting out of a relationship, getting something done at the school system that your kids are going to on behalf of your kids, whatever it is that you're up to in life, this is the only question that you need to ask yourself. Well, what is it that I want? Because the truth of the matter is, if you can answer that, you can have it. So if it were easy to get what you wanted in life, Google would have already figured out an app. You would just type in, okay, I'm a student and I want to go from being a student to being successful. And Google would tell you, go to college, then you get your master's, then you land this killer job, and then you put in a bunch of FaceTime while you're checking Facebook. Then you get promoted to manager, and then you realize managing people kind of stinks, and then you keep climbing the corporate ladder. And then you start to wonder, well, how did I end up here? And then you went, well, is this what success looks like? You're like, no, I'm going to go to Jay Hilburn. That's what success looks like. So keep this in mind. If there's something that you want, like 7 people, or a trip to Africa, or you're going to make it to Mexico in the pink shirt, I'm looking at you again, sorry. I'm watching you. And rooting for you. Keep in mind this. Here you are. This is what you want. I spend a lot of time on lacrosse fields, although they don't really look like this. You tend to think that what you want, you just march right towards it. But if in sports you march right towards the goal, what happens? The defenders come in. And what the defenders are is it's your brain saying, ain't gonna happen. So the second you start moving toward that thing you want, be ready. You're gonna tell yourself you don't feel like it. You're gonna have to force yourself. It's happening. There's no way to get around it. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna basically get bounced around a lot. All over the place. And there are going to be a lot of times that you feel like this was a really dumb idea to start this business because it's going to get hard. And I want to remind you about something. Unlike a sports field where there's an in and out of bounds, the great thing about life is there actually aren't any. And it's usually in those moments where you feel like you can't do it that you're closer than ever to having everything that you wanted. And I wanted to show you this so that you keep it in mind, because I think a lot of times when you look back, it's the darkest moments where you realize that's what projected me forward. We live in the most amazing moment in time. So that thing that you have up here, whatever it may be, you want to use healthy eating to cure your diabetes, you want to figure out how to take care of the elders and start a new hospice center, you want to move to Africa and build a school, guess what? You could walk into a bookstore right now and buy at least 10 books written by credentialed experts on how the hell you do it. You could Google it, and you could probably find at least, 1,000 blogs documenting the step-by-step transformation that somebody else is already doing. You can find anybody online and cyber-stalk them. You can just walk in their footsteps and just use the science of drafting. Follow what everyone else has done, because somebody else is already doing it. So why don't you have what you want? When you have all the information that you need, you have the contacts that you need, there are probably free tools online that allow you to start a business or join a group or do whatever the heck you want. It all comes down to one word. Shut the front door, you know what I'm talking about? The F-bomb. It's everywhere. You hear it all the time, and I honestly don't understand what the appeal is of the word. I mean, you don't sound smart when you say it. And it's really not expressing how you really feel. It's sort of a cheap, shot to take. And of course, I'm talking about the word fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, really? You are? Dragging around those extra 40 pounds? You're fine? Feeling like roommates with your spouse? And you're fine? You haven't had sex in 4 months? You're fine? Really? I don't think so. But see, here's the deal with saying that you're fine. It's actually genius. Because if you're fine, you don't have to do anything about it. But when you think about this word fine, it just makes me so angry. I mean, here we are at a conference about being alive, and you're going to describe the experience of being alive as fine? What a flimsy and feeble word. If you're crappy, say you're crappy. If you're amazing, say you're amazing. Tell the truth. And this not only goes for the social construct, oh, I don't want to burden you with the fact that I hate my life, or, hey, I'm amazing, but that would make you feel terrible. The bigger issue with fine is that you say it to yourself. That thing that you want, I guarantee you, you've convinced yourself that you're fine not having it. That's why you're not pushing yourself. It's the areas in your life where you've given up, where you've said, oh, I'm fine. My mom's never going to change, so I just can't have that conversation. I'm fine. We got to wait until the kids graduate before we get divorced, so we'll just sleep in separate bedrooms. I'm fine. I lost my job. I can barely pay my bills, but whatever. It's hard to get a job. And, one of the reasons why this word also just annoys me so much is scientists have calculated, oh yeah, I'm coming down. Scientists have calculated the odds of you being born. That's right. They've crunched the numbers. I see you up there. They have crunched the numbers on you. Yeah, no, you guys standing up, you want to sit down for this. They've crunched the numbers on you being born. And they took into account all of the wars and the natural disasters and the dinosaurs and everything else. And do you realize that the odds of you, yeah, right here, put your computer away, stand up for me, Doug. So the odds of Doug here, turn around, say hi to everybody. The odds, of Doug being born at the moment in time he was born, to the parents you were born to, with the DNA structure that you have, 1 in 400 trillion. Isn't that amazing?
I'm so lucky.
Yes. You're not fine, you're fantastic. You have life-changing ideas for a reason, and it's not to torture yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And Christine was right when she said all of you could be on stage, because all of you, we're all in this category. 1 in 400 trillion. All day long, you have ideas that could change your life, that could change the world, that could change the way that you feel. And what do you do with them? I have a pad of Postit Notes. Yes, Postit Notes next to my sink in my bathroom. Why? Well, because after I brush my teeth, haven't looked at my phone yet, I take a Postit Note out and I write the 3 things I need to focus on today. And then you know what I do with it? I stick it on the back of my phone. Now, why would I do that? Because I have my phone with me all the time. And so if it's on the back of my phone, I'm going to get a visual cue to remind me and keep it top of mind so I stay focused on it. How is it that you see something larger for yourself? Well, the first thing that you have to do, the very first thing, is you have to get out of the weeds. Successful people are all in the weeds. The busier you are, the more you have going on. You know that old saying that everybody says, don't work in your business, work on your business? Well, we are all in the weeds. And the key to seeing something larger for yourself is getting out of the weeds. I mean, don't you feel like this dude? I know I do. You wake up, brush your teeth, make the coffee, feed the kids, pack the lunches, put them on the bus, get in the car, text your friends, get some coffee, arrive at work, feign interest, answer emails, update Facebook, make cold calls, avoid the meeting, look busy, crunch some numbers, update Facebook, get in the car, go to carpool, feed your kids, feed the dog, check email, update Facebook, kiss your husband, climb into bed, fool around. Are you kidding? I'm exhausted. Turn off the lights. I mean, I live in a 2-household, thank you, entrepreneurial family. I'm exhausted. I'm busy. How the heck am I going to see something larger from my life when I have a business to run, when I have kids to take care of? Well, you have to get out of the weeds. And the truth is, there's some good news. And the good news is, I heard about this pill that's in development. Yeah, I know, I'm waiting for it too. The problem though is I think that they're gonna have naming problems, forget it all. It seems like a kind of a bad name for a pill, even though I might take it now and again. So I thought before we jump into how you see something larger, I need to yank you out of the weeds first. So I'm gonna give you my advice for what I do in order to keep myself out of the weeds. And you guys don't need remedial personal development. I got that. I just feel obligated to give you some actionable things to do. Because if you don't plan your week out before the week starts, you're going to be in reactive mode. You're going to be running around. You're going to be chasing down the biggest thing that's happening in your life. You're going to be constantly responding. This is one of the most important things that you can do. If you're not married, if you're not living with somebody, do it for yourself. Plan your week. You know this already.
The first thing that you need to do is you define what success looks like for you. And it's not $10 million in the bank. I'm sorry. It needs to be something bigger, a bigger purpose.
What if somebody says it is $10 million in the bank to me?
Well, the problem with saying it's $10 million in the bank is that when you finally get to the $10 million, typically those people feel pretty bankrupt because
and that's what you're seeing, and that's what you're seeing in your work
absolutely,
also. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, once you define it for yourself, I think the key is how do you then trick yourself, Donnie, into feeling successful every single day? I've got a daughter that plays lacrosse. She's 9 years old. If I said to her, I'm only cheering for you when you score a goal, how do you think she'd feel during the game? She wouldn't play very well, that's for sure. So you've got to figure out how do you cheer for yourself and how do you feel successful while you're playing the game? Because it's not all about the goal.
Okay, are there any tools to cheer for myself? Give me today. I want to feel better inside. I'm at home. I'm watching. I'm either somebody that's got the millions of dollars and it's not feeling good, or I don't have those millions of dollars and it's not feeling good.
All right,
and I'm worried about the economy around me. And so give me the cheering section.
What you need to do. What you need to do is you have to decide, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm going for the big vision of what success is. Now do a head fake with yourself and say, okay, let's just say that I'm actually already there. I have the $10 million in the bank. I'm, saving the world, whatever it is that your version of success is. What are 3 things that I would change about this day, today? How would I live it today if I already had all that stuff? What time would I wake up? Who's my first phone call to? What did I eat for breakfast? Start living as that success vision now. Drive. That's this puppy right here. This is what you want. This is your prefrontal cortex. Drive is the mode where you're in charge of your thoughts. Okay? It's where you are fully awake, you are present, and you are driving your thoughts and actions. When you're doing that, your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a righty. If I were to try to write with my left hand, Lewis is going to torture me and tie my hand behind my back and make me do this, I could do it. It would look like I was writing with my foot. And if Lewis came up to me and said, hey, Mel, you want some bulletproof coffee? I'd be like, Lewis, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't do this. My prefrontal cortex would be el fuego because it is firing on all cylinders to communicate to my hand new behavior. So the thing that's cool about that is that you can use a simple trick. The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment you've got one of those moments where you know that you need to, this is that moment that Lewis talks to you about where you got to step outside of your comfort zone and you've got to lean into your passion and you've got to really take some risks and you got to feel the fear and you got to do it anyway. That's the moment where you just woke up and now you got a decision to make. Are you going to drift back into the habits, or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward and focus and do something new?
If you want another amazing Mel Robbins video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
When you hit a moment in your life or your work or your family where you feel very overwhelmed, one of the most important things to not do is
An overscheduled entrepreneur cannot be creative.